Welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. Our theme for 2025 is the future of work. Meaning is the new money. In a world shaped by rapid innovation and constant change, the pursuit of purpose and impact has never been more important. I'm Dr. John Dentico, your host, bringing over 30 years of experience in leadership, strategic thinking, and purpose-driven innovation. Here, we tackle the pressing challenges of our time, from the rise of artificial intelligence to the growing need for meaning in the workplace. Together, we'll uncover how leaders can ethically integrate AI to enhance decision-making and keep humanity at the heart of their organizations. Remember, amidst all the technological advancements, in the end, it's always about the people. This podcast is your resource for actionable tools, thought-provoking discussions, and inspiring stories. It's time to go beyond leadership development and focus on leadership impact, creating workplaces where people thrive, innovation flourishes, and meaning truly becomes the new currency. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now, let's throttle up and dive into today's episode. Hello again, and welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. This is your host, Dr. John Dentico. With me today is Brandon Barnum, known as the King of Referrals. He's an award-winning entrepreneur, speaker, and business strategist. He is the CEO of HOA.com, the leading referral network for home service professionals, and the author of 4 #1 best-selling books in the Raving Referrals series. After 10-timing his income from $20K to $200,000 in just 18 months, Brandon went on to generate over $500 million in referral-based transactions, building global networks across 195 countries and helping more than 250,000 real estate professionals grow their businesses. His work has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, and Cracking the Millionaire Code. As the former CEO of Codebreakers Technologies, Brandon co-developed the world's first personality-based AI for sales, merging behavioral science with cutting-edge technology to improve client engagement. At HOA.com, Brandon is now transforming the way homeowners associations operate, leveraging AI-powered solutions to streamline operations, foster stronger neighborhood connections, and empower homeowners through trusted local partnerships. His vision of unity through community is setting a new standard for how neighborhoods grow and thrive. Brandon brings real-world insights on referral marketing, business growth, and building trust-based communities through innovation, leadership, and connection. I am truly pleased he is here with me today on the podcast. Good morning, Brandon. How are you today?
Good morning, Dr. John. I'm blessed beyond belief. Thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome, and please just call me John.
All
I
right.
only use doctor when I do educational proposals and when I make dinner reservations. Get you a
That's
good
smart.
table. Anyway, enough of that. So, Brandon, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? And what were some of the fundamental influences in your early life?
Well, great question. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and I was raised by lesbians, kind of a hippie lesbian. And so we moved all the time. When you say initial influencers in your life, my influencers were teachers, but they were sort of transitory. It changed all the time. It wasn't until I got into my adult years that I started getting some mentors into my life. And those are the people that really made a difference.
Interesting. Very interesting. Let me ask you this question. You're known as the King of Referrals. What's the biggest misconception professionals have about generating referrals? And what's the key to making it work long term?
Great question and such a powerful answer. There's so many misconceptions. I think the biggest thing is people think that referrals just happen and there's no way to really optimize it. When they understand the system and the science, it really opens their eyes to the blind spots in their business. The biggest gap in most business professionals and businesses is they just don't ask for referrals. They don't know how to. They feel uncomfortable and awkward asking for referrals. So we teach them the art of the ask, that they're completely confident. It's service-based, so their clients love it. They get more business, more referrals, and help more families.
I've got to ask you this question. Define for me, if you will, what exactly do you mean by a referral?
Yeah, a referral is really a recommendation. It's word of mouth marketing. I was just meeting with the dean of the School of Business here for Grand Canyon University 2 days ago. And I said, the reality is I have a marketing degree, right? I went to business school. Not once did I ever hear the word referral taught. And so we're actually bringing raving referrals into the Grand Canyon University. That's what we're having the conversation about. But referrals is recommendations. And here's the thing, in the business to business world, 84% of B2B sales start with a referral, a recommendation. Somebody brings you in and they transfer trust. And that's really the key. When you're cold calling people, they don't know you, they don't trust you. And you're fighting resistance. Whereas when you work through referrals and you've got people recommending you, there's a trust transfer. 90% of humans say they trust recommendations from people they know. So when others are recommending you, those people often hire you.
Would you say the core of a referral is trust? Would you
100%.
define?
Without trust, there are no referrals. No one gives a referral unless they trust that the person they're referring to is going to help. We typically don't refer because we're trying to help out the business owner. We refer because we've got a friend, family member, client, customer that's got a challenge, and we're looking to solve their challenge. We want to help. As human beings, we are intrinsically wired to want to help people. And so when we see that someone's got a challenge, we want to support them with providing the solution. That's what a referral is all about.
I agree with you 100%. That's absolutely right. I was just thinking about car repairs. For example, fixing your car. How important is a referral from someone who's fixed your car and done a great job, that kind of a thing? I can think of one person that I used to go to who's now sold his car repair business. You would say something like, look, this guy's expensive, but he's great. The problem is going to go away, and it's going to go away the right way. So I think it's important to be honest about that as well. So let me ask you this. You've 10 times your income in just 18 months. What changed in your approach? And how can others replicate that leap in their own business?
Yeah, John, this is a fun story. I was a single dad. I found out in college that you don't have to be married to have a kid. And so at 22, I had a son. And by 24, I was a single dad. I had full custody. And I was only making $20,000 a year at that point. I ended up trying a couple things. And then I got into the mortgage business. And I had somebody that essentially mentored me, taught me the art and the science of what I now call raving referrals. And that's what 10x my income from $20,000 to $200,000 a year in just 18 months. The biggest thing was understanding who's already serving my perfect prospect, who's helping the people that I want to help, and how can I add so much value to them and become the solution to their clients' challenges. Once I learned that, it allowed me to add tremendous value into the marketplace, and that's what 10x my income.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, I think that sometimes the simplest things are the most powerful. How you can change just a little bit and many great things will follow you. Let's talk about HOA.com. Using AI to transform how neighborhoods connect and operate. What inspired this model, and how does it work? And how does it change the game for both homeowners and service providers?
Yeah, great question. So let's just set the stage first. Most people know that there's a lot of HOAs out there. It's actually 375,000 homeowner associations, and 53% of all homeowners in the U.S. live in an HOA, but most don't love their HOA. That's what we're out to solve and really help people love their HOA. Now, how do we do that? Through automation, but also unity through community. Let's stick on the AI side and save the unity through community for another question. But with AI, there's so many things that we can do to improve the way the HOA operates. Everything from creating and managing the budgets, vendor selection, architectural review, approval. All of those processes or workflows and systems that can be automated out of it, so the human doesn't necessarily need to do it, which also eliminates some of the human involvement or steering, right? Because there's a few different challenges that when I introduce myself as CEO of HOA.com, I hear as complaints about HOAs. Number one is transparency. People feel like they pay a lot of money into their HOA and they're not sure what they get for it. Number two is communication. They feel like they don't know what's going on in their HOA. And number three is politics. And number four is policing. The politics is they feel like their HOA president thinks they're the king. And then the policing is they feel like there's rules for thee, but not for me. In fact, it's not equally administered. Those are the primary challenges that we're looking to solve. And AI can automate a lot of that. The other thing we're doing right now is testing AI support, the community concierge, where a homeowner has a question about their HOA. They call us and we know all of the CC&Rs, the bylaws about how the HOA is run. Typically, we can answer the homeowner's question quickly so they get the information that they need while that we're improving homeowner satisfaction. We're reducing the workload on the HOA board or the community management company. That's really a win-win solution.
Yeah, that's a great answer. What came to mind is, for example, someone in a HOA community, depending on the size of it and the construction requirements and the CC&Rs, wanted to put up a Starlink antenna rather than use the service that's provided to them on the landline side of the equation. Whether or not they can do that within the confines of the CC&Rs and being able to answer that. I mean, because it is, I live in an HOA and it's still a mystery to me.
Right.
So it's, you just don't know the different options or the different ideas that are driving how they do business. So I absolutely am on board with you there.
Well, that's a great example, John. Imagine if you had a chat GPT for your community where you could ask questions and instantly get the answers you need, rather than having to comb through a convoluted conditions, covenants, and requirements document that most people get bored and fall asleep while they're reading. You just need one question answer. And that's what you want us to cut to the quick.
Wonderful. You've built massive global networks and led organizations that span 195 countries. That's pretty significant. What's been your approach to scaling trust and impact on that level?
I think it all starts with a vision, right? What is the vision for your organization? What is it that you're out to accomplish and achieve and transform? And that mission that comes as a result of the vision then enrolls and inspires people. And because I teach referrals, there's a network effect that we're able to tap into. And in all of my businesses, what I engineer is that referral factor so that there's always the opportunity for people to spread the word, to share it with others. We integrate referral rewards so that there's an actual incentive for people to share what we're doing with other people and get them enrolled and excited about what we're doing. So I think that's so important that you integrate a referral system into your business, whatever business you're in, so that your customers become your greatest advocates and bring lots of other clients and customers.
I agree. I think it's so important. And as you well know, I'm preaching to the choir here. Nothing competes with word of mouth marketing.
That's right.
It's just so powerful because there's that trust factor. It's a person telling me this is really good and that's not so good, a way to look at things.
And John, as we advance in our society and rely heavily on automation, those real relationships in the real world community, I think is the commerce of the next generation. I think the reality is we're on a mission to bring people together. Unity through community is a cause, and it's about bringing people together in the real world. When we help nurture and create relationships, people feel fulfilled, especially when they can make a difference in the lives of others and see the impact they're creating firsthand.
Right. My theme this year is that meaning is the new money.
Love
That people, the multi-generational workforce, certainly the younger generation, the Gen Zers and folks like Gen X, Gen Y, they are looking for meaning.
That's right.
What impact can I have? Do people respect the input that I'm bringing to the organization or to the cause? Many times we feel almost run over by technology, especially in the AI world. Is there any meaning left? I mean, or are we just, relegated all to technology? And the answer is no, there's lots of meaning left. No matter how much technology comes along, in the end,
That's
it's
right.
always about the people. So it's a very interesting dynamic we find ourselves in. The speed of change is incredible right now. Just the internet 30 years ago, we all went, oh my God, where's this going to take us? And now it's on steroids, the distribution of information and knowledge to people.
Yeah,
So
and I think we're at an inflection point.
Go ahead.
I think we are at a point where automation and robotization is going to reduce the amount of work that humans have to do. And so we're going to have more time for creativity and connection. If you're a business leader, you've got to be looking at building the future into your company. If you're not integrating AI into your workflows right now, you're going to be left behind, because the reality is that the automation can do some of the meaningless work so that the people can do the meaningful work.
That's a great way of putting it. I often quote Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, who said, you never have to worry about AI taking your job. You have to worry about someone who understands how to use AI to take your job. And I think that's right on the money. I saw a projection the other day of the jobs that AI will create. And we're talking about 170 million new jobs.
Wow.
And those got to be filled by people. And I absolutely agree. I was doing a presentation last week, and I asked people, I said, can you imagine bumping into somebody and say, well, tell me, how do you use the internet? And they look at you and go, the internet, what's that? There's something called the internet. As strange as that may seem to us now, that's going to be the future in AI.
That's right.
You will bump into somebody who says, what's AI? It will be as strange as this internet example. Not getting on board with it is to the detriment of each person, I think, in many respects. I'd love to get your reflection on that.
Yeah, I think we're heading into the days of the agentic workforce. We're going to have AI agents doing much of the repetitive tasks for us. I was just in an AI mastermind weekend before last, and these were experts in automations, and it was just so interesting to hear what people that are on the leading edge are doing. I was watching real life scenarios where they were building websites with AI live, creating the content, publishing the website, and watching it go live in a matter of seconds. Whereas in the past, you would have had to hire a copywriter, a graphic designer, and then a web developer. So really 3 people would be involved in that process. And typically it takes weeks to get something like that created. Instead, it was minutes. So if you're not having to do those routine tasks, what are you doing? And the reality is there's so many workflows in your business, especially when it comes to referrals and communication and relationship nurturing. This is one of the biggest challenges in business, is that people don't follow up and follow through. And with AI, we can help automate that process and ensure that we're nurturing the most important relationships in our lives.
I agree. I'd love to get your reflection on it. I think what we're entering now, too, along with these capabilities as you just described, is a true age of entrepreneurialism, where a person who knows enough about AI, or even hires someone to do an AI job for them, like build a website in a few minutes. Now, there are very few barriers to entering the entrepreneurial world. I'd love to get your perspective on that.
I agree 1,000%. When I first created my web platform back in 1997, it was like an early version of Zillow. I was in Portland, Oregon. We called it the Portland Online Homebuyer Guide. And we had listings online. And back then you couldn't find listings of homes. If you did, maybe they had one exterior photo, but we had 6 or 8. It was lots of fun. To build that website took months and a lot of maintenance. Nowadays, you could create that quickly and inexpensively, but really removes all the barriers to starting a business. You can create things so quickly these days. What's the challenge that you can solve that you can really make massive value and create great wealth at the same time?
Right. And what pain can you take away?
Exactly.
What issue, what problem are people dealing with? Focusing on the pain, on the discomfort, if you will. What can John Dentico do? What can you do, Brandon, to take away someone's pain? and afford them a capability that is cost effective. We have to be, true about that. Has to be cost effective, acceptable, yet really in a sense says, we're going to alleviate this issue. I mean, it's the quintessential, let's Google it. Let's find the solution to our problems. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And we need to be looking at where the puck is going, right? Knowing that automation is coming. That's the world that we're in. Now, what opportunities does that present for us? We talk about unity through community and really creating connected communities. We started out as a software as a service business, like so many others, and we've evolved to community as a service, and we're actually manufacturing community. That's a big idea, a big challenge that nobody's done. But as you look at the marketplace for whatever you do, whatever value you provide, it's about creating the vision for the future and the solutions, not only for today's challenges, but also for the challenges that will come as automation sweeps the business world.
I agree. I think it's redeveloping it, almost repackaging it. I don't mean it to be service. It's like renewing, if you will, the idea of unity through community and the power of community. No question about it. There's one question Diane asked, and that has to do with this idea that you develop the world's first personality-based AI for sales.
Yeah.
Take me down that road. Peel that onion back for me a bit.
When I was the president of a company called Refer.com, I was doing a live event. I came off stage and a woman handed me cards. She said, would you review the information on these cards and sort them in order of most like you to least like you? That'll save us both time and help me serve you better. And I went, oh, that's interesting. Because I had seen personality systems, right? DISC, Myers-Briggs, and all the others. And I'd used them in my company, but I'd never thought about it from a sales perspective. And what happened was within about 30 seconds, I sorted these cards and I handed them back to her. And then she just described who I was. So in the past, I had to fill out a 15, 20-minute questionnaire to get my personality code. I carry these cards with me everywhere I go, and I ask people, do you want to see a magic trick? What happens is I give them the cards, they read it, they hand it back to me. I describe who they've just told me they are, creating instant empathy. I understand what's important to them and why they make buying decisions. What factors are going to lead to more yeses and less nos? And so when I came off stage, and this was back in 2008 that we were doing this event, she then introduced me to the CEO of the company. When I exited Refer.com, the CEO of that company said, hey, would you like to help me come build an AI where we take this personality system through some technology guys that I brought on? We created a Google Chrome extension that allowed you in LinkedIn, for example, you could find out somebody's personality code in one click in about 1 second.
Wow.
So now it changes the game. Not only do you understand your clients, customers, and prospects better, but you also know how to really connect with them. You understand them at a deeper level instantly. As soon as I learned that system, it really changed things for me. And everybody in the world has a bank code. The question is, do you know what yours is?
Very interesting. I think the whole world of AI is opening so many doors.
It is.
In so many ways to so many people. There's evil in the world, and we have to be cautious and careful for those nefarious actors who are going to take things and use them against other people or to hurt them. Any thoughts on that in terms of the nefarious characters in the world of AI?
Yeah, I think that's true. There's good and evil, and clearly that's the way God set up this world. It's beyond my comprehension why the rules are the way they are, but it's the world that we live in. When you think about the future of AI, nefarious actors, the reality is those are going to be sought out. I think we're entering into a world of true transparency where everything we say and do is recorded these days. Every word that you speak and text and type is being archived somewhere. Everything you say, your phone is recording, whether you think it is or not. That's what's happening. The world that I see is that those that are unscrupulous are going to get found out and cast out. There's going to be implications to those that aren't doing things the right way, and those that are going to be elevated. And I think that's the world that we're entering into.
And in that sense, community is going to be even more important.
It is.
People come together, the power of people, to seek out, find, and cast out the nefarious actors is going to be quite amazing, in my opinion.
I think we're seeing it right now in our country. The tide is turned, and rather than inviting criminals in from foreign nations, we're kicking them out and coming back to a country that is really based on biblical principles, but just has strong roots. It's all about the best for everyone. And that's the world that we want to live in. So let's create it together. And that starts with community.
Right. Because of a lot of what I do, obviously, is focus on leadership. I'd like to ask you this question as we get closer to the end. How do you see the evolution of leadership in this world of AI from the way it was in the industrial era, the hierarchical models, to where we are now? So you have a real bird's eye view because of your work and the things that you've created. I'd love to hear from you what your perspective is about leadership in the future.
I think it's all about leadership. It's interesting. We just led a Girls Change the World Summit 2 weeks ago, and it was amazing. Teen girls, 13 to 18, that are in high school, and we're teaching them leadership, self-improvement, and financial literacy. To watch these girls just open up, these are the leaders of the future. Each of us has a leader inside of us. The question is, do we choose to live life by design or life by default? A lot of people are asleep at the wheel and just doing whatever comes to them. The people that are living life by design, they've got a calling, they've got a purpose, and they're willing to step up and lead. And John, leadership can be lonely because once you lead, everybody's got an opinion of what you're doing and saying. Sometimes it's spot on and other times it's off the mark. But the leaders of the future are what's going to create our future. And so at HOA.com, we're looking for community champions. I focus on people that are willing to step up and lead, even in their local communities. What does that look like? Well, imagine living in a neighborhood where every month there's something fun going on, right? Whether it's an ice cream social or a community barbecue or something that brings people together. We just did a community kickball tournament a few weeks ago. And it was so fun because all the neighbors came out. There were about 75 people there. The kids are playing kickball. The dads are playing cornhole. Moms were dancing, having a good time. Not one person was on their cell phone. And that event and experience happened because a leader stepped up and said, I want a more connected community. A leader stepped up and shared the vision for the future that excited and enrolled other people to get involved. So if we're going to change the world, we've got to be the leaders of tomorrow that create the future we want to live in.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's a very profound observation. I think we have to get people off their cell phones for at least a bit. Yeah. I know it's addictive. I understand that. But the more we do that, the more we return to the roots of our humanity.
Yeah.
I think the better off we're going to be in the long run. Connect with people in community. There was a book, I can't think of the author right now, that was a phenomenal bestseller. It was called Bowling Alone. That was the name of and predicated on bowling leagues, how bowling leagues were so big in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I mean, it was the thing, shirts and all kinds of regalia that people would wear, and they'd go out and bowl. And we've drifted away from that.
That's right.
Now too many people bowl alone, in a sense. So I think that community is where it's at, and even leadership. I will tell you that one of the things I'm embarking on right now and getting ready to put some Udemy courses online is something I now call the Throttle Up OS, the Throttle Up operating system, in the sense that, and I tell people, I've been waiting 30 years for this moment in time.
Nice.
And crafted this leadership idea before the future arrived, in a manner of speaking. We can't lead today using old ideas and models. We need to lead today understanding that the greatest contribution is contribution. What we want to do is create an open environment, an open forum as much as we can, recognizing there has to be controls, understand it. And I'm talking more on the organizational mindset. where the fundamental value added is we have a problem, we have an issue, who wants to contribute, who has an idea, who can bring something to the table and that will energize us and move us into the future. You talked about vision. I talk about mission statements and the importance of mission statements and the idea that it has to be one single, simple sentence, the galvanizing spirit. I'd love to get your reflection on those ideas.
Yeah, I completely agree. So let's start with bowling league first, because I think you tapped into something that's so powerful. And since 2020, we've lost it. And that's belonging. It's connectedness. The question that I often ask people is, who are you doing life with? Are you intentional about who you're creating connections and relationships with? Or do you just hang out with whoever shows up? Right? As true leaders, we have to be strategic about who we surround ourselves, ensuring that we've got a team of people and a tribe of people that is moving us to where we want to be. If not, we're going back to life by default. I think you're absolutely right. I love that you've got this new course that you're creating, because I think everybody needs a personal mission statement. One of the people I know and respect has created their family brand. And what they do is they teach families to create their own vision, mission, and value system, and then their own crest. Some back in the day, 200 years ago, big families had a crest. Well, why don't we do that anymore? Their family actually wears branded swag. And rather than wearing a jersey with Michael Jordan's name or Kobe Bryant, they're wearing their own family's brand as they lead through life. And what a vision that is. So imagine if we lived in that connected community, we're intentionally doing life with people that light our fire, that we're thrilled to be around, and we're leading people into those relationships and communities. That's the world I want to live in.
Great. It's wonderful. What a great idea. I remember one time I got my hands on what I believed to be our family crest. And I gave it to my dad as a gift. He was just thrilled beyond words, because he could see, as a young man, I was a fisherman. I fished a lot with my dad. We'd go fishing together, my brother as well. On our family crest is a jumping bottlenose dolphin.
Nice.
And it's just absolutely, and the reason they use that is because a bottlenose dolphin has human-like little teeth. And Dentico, translated literally in the Italian language, is little teeth. So that's how they came up with the dolphin. Very interesting how they got their way there. So let me ask you.
When I saw your name, I thought of this book.
Yeah. I've had several dentists on as guests, wonderful people. Kevin Kramer, really an interesting guy. We talked a lot about hiring the right people and values, the importance of values. One of my themes these days is hire for values, hire for heart. The idea that if a new employee comes in and their values are aligned, because that's the number one thing that young people are looking for is values alignment. Do you care about the same things? If you align them, the chances are they'll stay 5 or 6 years with you.
That's right.
They may leave after 5 or 6 years, not because they don't like you, but because it may be time to move on. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So hire values. And then my 100th podcast, I talked about 8 people whom clearly demonstrated they came from tragic experiences in their young life. 3 of them served in prison. 2 told me that prison saved their lives. 1, who's now an AI leader, owns 4 companies, was a 3-time felon. Told me it took 2 times. The first 2 times didn't stick. Unbelievable. People who've been through tough times know how to get through things, achieve things, and accomplish. So one of my themes is hire for values, connect them up, and hire for heart, because those people know how to get things done. They know how to move forward, even under adverse conditions. But I'd like to ask you this, Brandon, as we cycle our way out of this podcast, what is your particular hope for the future?
I hope for the future that people feel connected. They feel like they're part of something again. We focus at HOA.com on the local community, but whatever that community is, choose to be a part, get in the game, find your tribe. Find the people that you feel fulfilled by. I was just meeting, as I mentioned, with the professor at GCU. Well, he's also the lead pastor at his church. I went to his church on Sunday, and we were talking about the future of community through the church. We have these amazing multi-million-dollar church buildings that sit empty most of the week. What if we reimagine those as a community hub, and we focus on meeting people where they are, helping them through whatever they're going through in life? And through doing that, they may be interested in coming to church on Sunday. That's a model that we're creating, but it's really about helping people find their tribe, get connected, feel a part of something that fulfills them, find their calling and passion in life and their purpose, and get inspired, get enrolled, and get going.
Yeah, it's all about purpose. It's all about finding that beautiful thing that becomes less of a job and more of a calling. Brandon, this has been a blast. I can't thank you enough for your time today here on the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. It's been great. I know it'll be one of the premier episodes, without a doubt. I want to thank you so much for your time. I want to wish you and all your associates the greatest of successes in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure.